Hi, everyone. Welcome to Infinite Wellness. My name is Noelle Agape, and I am your host. And here's where we learn everything health, wellness, and consciousness. Today, I am with my dear soul brother, Josh Berglan. He is amazing. He is a gift to this world. He literally is the world's mayor. He connects everybody and everything to where they're supposed to be. He's an actor. He's a TV host. He is just pure light in this world. Welcome, Josh. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so good. Thanks for being on here. So tell us a little bit about you and what you do and what you bring to this world.
Oh my God, I hate this question so much. I don't have one of those simple answers.
That's what we love about you, though.
To be honest with you, I truly am just focused on how do I answer this question? I hate this question. I really hate it. I mean, I help people. That's all I care about doing. I don't have a job, but I'm involved in businesses. I don't have a career. I have a calling, and I pursue that calling. And as crazy as it may seem, all I do all day is the first thing I wake up, I start studying. And I'm try to get present. I say try because sometimes that's like a wrestling match. I have some days 4-hour quiet times. And because that, through the practice of surrender, is what I was told to do. It doesn't make sense to me because I should be looking for a job. I should be looking for financial opportunities. But for some reason, I'm just told, seek me, be present, just like, and grow and look at these areas of your life you get to heal, because there's something else out here for you that you're called to do. Those are the messages I'm getting. And the only way to get there is for you to do nothing but spend time with me.
Well, that is amazing. And
no, it's not. It's insane.
Well, it's not. It's actually very cool.
This is the first time I've ever really just answered the question that's been asked to me, because people ask me all the time, what do I do? Do you want me to tell you okay, so I'm a branding expert. I've worked in about every possible industry you can imagine, helping people get what they need. And essentially all that is, truthfully, is me using my spiritual gift of vision to help people. And for some reason, when I tried to do this, when I would try to monetize utilizing my vision, helping people, something always crazy happened that didn't work out. I wouldn't get paid, but the flip side of it was when I just started using it to give away, to teach people, to help people, and I just say, I'll do it for free. Then all of a sudden, money just started showing up, or little blessings. And I'm not saying rich or anything like that, but where I live has been basically donated to me. Like food, my medical care, all of this stuff just comes through these blessings because I'm obeying that voice, that spirit, that whatever you want to call it, is telling me to do. And it sounds insane. It does. But I can tell you, by doing it, my life has been more blessed than it's ever been, ever. And I'm happier than I've ever been. But verbalizing it makes, God, I sound like a crazy person. But it's the truth.
Well, I think that you're so much more than that. I think, right? I mean, you have this gift of a visionary. You absolutely are a visionary, but you connect people and you connect brands and you connect, you really are a master at that. And you're an actor and you really are, you have this gift to the world. You're so light and you have so much knowledge. Tell us a little bit about, your show and getting through your show, just what it takes to, because you said being present and just being in your body and listening. And that's what I teach the mind-body connection and understanding that we have this internal guidance system within you. So let's go there, because I think that that's so amazing that, you're using your gift to the world through your internal guidance system. So talk to me a little bit about that, because I really believe that you are such a visionary and you do have so many gifts and you really make massive, massive, massive things happen. And I think you're just downplaying it, but I'm going to toot your horn a little bit, is you make massive, big things happen with big people. And so, but that's because you're so present and you are so connected to your calling and your purpose. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, but I can't take credit for it. So I'm always uncomfortable talking about what I do, because I don't feel like I'm the one that does any of it. I didn't do anything to deserve my spiritual gift. But what I've noticed was that the more I pay attention to what I'm being prompted to do, or more importantly, remove from my life, when I obey that, amazing things happen. I can't explain it, but about 10 months ago, almost 11, God, it's been, oh my, there's so much time has flown by. It's almost been 11 months since I've had a massive relapse. I just became extremely heartbroken over, getting kicked out of a leadership course over something that it wasn't, I was active and involved in the fight, but it didn't really do it, and I didn't do anything to really deserve to get kicked out. But honestly, I'm so thankful it happened. But in that moment, I was just like, screw it. I'm done. I quit caring. And I had this massive relapse where I just was like really partying to die again. And it wasn't a pretty place, but I got to tell you, in that moment, and I swear to all that's holy that this happened, I'm coming off of meth. And as I'm coming off meth, and I'm like hating myself, and I'm contemplating, how do I get this over with? Meaning, how do I just die? Right when I had that thought, I had God, or I know it had to have been God, like just show up at the corner of my eye right here, go, I'm going to let you go through all of this. It's going to hurt. It's going to suck, but I got you, and I'm not letting you go. Just, and like, in that message, and I'm like, okay, you're not going to let me go. You got me, but you're going to let me go through this. What does that even mean? The next day I got a call from Annie Lobert from Hookers for Jesus, and she sent me a message. I'm like going, okay, whatever. The second day, Lauren Michaels Harris, who you know, calls me. He sends a message to me. I swear to you, I know Lauren. Lauren doesn't talk like this. This message I got could have only come from God, because only God knew what I was doing in this moment. And I get this message and I'm going, okay, now I'm paying attention. And then 3 consecutive days, 3 different people that I didn't know came to me and sent me messages. And the message basically said, let go and trust me.
Wow.
Surrender. Thy will be done. And by learning the practice of surrender, I became aware of some very important things that I had not been discussing on my talk show. And because at that time it was morning gratitude, it was a morning show, and it wasn't real fluffy and rainbows, but people had that impression about it. And I was like, I'm not fluffy and rainbows. In fact, I'm very unfiltered. In fact, my past and my story is more about finding gratitude through the most traumatizing moments of my life. And this path of coming out of that's what makes sense. And so I first became aware of the issues that I really needed to be focusing on and talking about. That was the messages I was getting. And just trust, like quit looking for a job, just trust me. So I just started seeking him. And little by little, magic started happening, miracles started happening. All these amazing things started falling into place. Not monetary success, but blessings from God, the universe, were just started showing up, new opportunities. I changed the name of my show from Morning Gratitude to Gratitude Unfiltered. I really showcased the edge. I started putting a spotlight on my shadow. And I made a commitment on my show that when I felt triggered, or I felt like my dark passenger, and that's a whole other episode, but I felt like this dark passenger was taking over, I made a commitment to talk about it, to put a spotlight on my shadow so I wouldn't go and hide anymore. Because I realized that was the problem, is that I had all of these amazing ways to hide, to go back into the shadows, to crawl back in and just allow that to take over. And that's where I would go, and that's the actions of wanting to die would happen. So I got real present with that, and I made a commitment publicly that when I go and I'm dealing with these triggers, I'm dealing with the mental health aspect of what I deal with borderline personality disorder, when I'm dealing with the sexual triggers, the drug triggers, all of that stuff, instead of hiding from it, I'm going to go on and I'm going to talk about it. I'm going to put it out there. And since I've started doing that on Gratitude Unfiltered, my life has just been enriched with blessings that I cannot begin to tell you. because I've been very fortunate to, and I say fortunate, to use all of the bad stuff about me for good. And HIV, battling with my sexuality, not knowing if I was bisexual or straight for a long time. And that's very, very common for, you know, people that are molested, especially molested by the people of the same sex. Jail, the failures, all of it, really, really exposing the dark side of drug abuse and the works. And so I just became very, very real with all of that. And what I noticed was that truth birthed a superpower. That gift of vision that I've been so blessed with, it became even more super. And it's really, really been one of the most incredible moments. Now, look, there's people that will flock, they will run away. I think I hold a painful mirror up for a lot of people sometimes, but I will tell you that my life has just been blessed because of paying attention, being present, and doing exactly what I felt led to do. And that's been the gist of all of it.
I love that you're so honest and so raw and real. And so our viewers, actually, I think that this is an amazing, amazing gift to our viewers because you have overcome so much diversity, Josh, and you remain positive. You always, always, always have faith. You always, always get through. And, you know, I know you really, really well. And I know that the darkness never comes. It comes through, but it never prevails ever with you. And so I think that that is your gift, and you can bring that gift to the world because you are so light, and you can't have the beautiful, bright light without being the dark, right? And so the darkness was brought to you to have you have it as your gift to the world. So all of these things, and it truly has. And I mean, I know that for a fact, but I think the greatest thing in the world, Josh, that you can help our viewers see is that it's not, you know, we're all human, and it is not always bubbles and unicorns. And even, you know, I joke around and say that I'm a unicorn, but really life happens often, right? And it's how you handle life and how you go through it and how you persevere through that adversity. And that is without question your greatest gift to this world, is because you share that with the world. So tell me a little bit more about dealing with the darkness. I mean, you've had some massive, massive dark things happen. Like you mentioned, you know, whether it was the sex addictions or the drugs or the things that are powerful in this world, it's never stopped you. So tell me about your perseverance, and tell me about what drove you to get to that point, because I think that that's such a gift that you have to give to this world, really.
I'm fortunate. The reason why is that, you know, I got my first vision after being molested by two men when I was 7 years old. But I didn't really understand what it meant then, you know. And every time I would have a traumatic experience or something would happen to me that where I was like hitting the wall or should give up or quit, like that point, that rock bottom that people talk about, I've had 100 of them. I don't know which one was worse. The sixth time in jail, that one was pretty interesting. I mean, that was when everything changed for me because I was finally forced to be alone. And that's a whole other story. But, you know, I'm fortunate because I had a lot of chances. I had that vision that would come to me when I should have quit. And I would go, yeah, okay, so that's what's possible if I turn my life around. Is that what you're trying to tell me, God? Okay, well, all right, fine, I'll do it. But the problem was making a life change, and when you have traumas, if you're not willing to do the work, yeah, a surface level of mental change, like watching some motivational videos, isn't change. I mean, I'm talking about deep work and like removing those toxins from your life. I didn't figure that out. You know, I would try to read the Bible. I would try to watch these personal development videos. I'm like, oh, great. And I knew how to talk a good game. But the thing is, I wasn't practicing. I wasn't retraining my brain. I wasn't doing the work to regurgitate this stuff, and a lot of hidden wounds that I wasn't really aware of. It wasn't until doing the work, but even before then, like it took that sixth time in jail because there was a phase of about 6 months that I was partying, and every time I would party, I partied with the intention to die. I didn't pick up a meth pipe or to do blow or to do any of that stuff. The drinking, it was to die. So I would not wake up. And it was over and over and over again, and God would not take me. God would not take me no matter how hard I tried. Even when I had given up hope, God wouldn't take me. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like, I'm trying to die. And it took that 6th time in jail. I go in and I'm there the first day and I go, oh, you know what? I'm in LA County and I'm thinking, oh, this is not a place I want to be. Like, I've heard stories about this place. I do not want to be here. And I'm like, I'll know what I'll do. I'll tell them I have HIV thinking they're going to give me special privileges. Yeah, they don't give you special privileges. Nope. I got put in this cell by myself because I was going in general pop, which is a nightmare from what I understand. I was heading there. And instead I got put into the psych ward. And so it's these little tiny cells. And next to me are other people. I can't see them, but I can hear them. Horrific, terrible screams. It was a nightmare. The second day after the cocaine and alcohol had worn off, I was losing my mind, and I was begging for something to read. I was begging, and they wouldn't give me anything to read. And for some reason, I remembered they had to give me a Bible. And so at reading the Bible, all it did was just make me more angry. And I started screaming at God about why he wouldn't fix me and why he wouldn't change me. But man, thinking about it now, if that wouldn't have happened, if I would not have been put in isolation and been forced to be alone with my own thoughts and be alone where I couldn't run, there was nothing, no substance I could take to mask the pain. I just had to deal with it. And I also know that if I wasn't in that isolation, that I would have never screamed at God and then heard God talk back to me and tell me exactly what I got to do, which was forgive my father, the person that was the source of not all of my pain, but a lot of it. And the reason my sisters disappeared, the reason, the physical abuse with my mother, the physical abuse with my brother, myself, all of it. And letting go of that and learning to forgive was a very powerful moment in my life. But man, it was something about hearing God's voice telling me I had to forgive my father that I'll never forget. And like, how in the hell am I supposed to do that? How am I supposed to forgive him after what he did to me, what he did to my mom, my brother, and his sisters? And to hear it happened to him too. And that moment of just, oh my God, I've become just like my father, but worse. And I started to have compassion. And once I was able to forgive him, I had another discussion with God that changed my life forever. And, and then I've just learned over the last 5 years since that happened that, that voice that talks to you, that inner spirit, that guidance system, it's telling you to remove people from your life. It's telling you to remove the alcohol, it's the drugs, in my case, the sex too. It's telling you to do that for a reason, because it's showing you something that not only that you get to heal, but more importantly, it's showing you an area of a breakthrough that's available for you. And I can tell you, of all the things that I've removed from my life that I've honored and I've trusted, every bit of it, I've been rewarded with something bigger and better than I could have ever imagined. And mind you, I'm still like a horny teenager. This no sex thing is for the birds. It's not fun. It's not. But I've learned a lot in the process. And, I've been chronically bad at relationships. I've never been good in relationships at all. I wasn't mature enough to handle, and frankly, had no business being in relationships, not trusting myself, not loving myself. But, like now that I've really learned to trust myself, therefore loving myself, I know what's available for me, and I want that, and I won't settle for anything but that. And that's an amazing feeling.
Oh my gosh, Josh, you just said so many amazing things in that, the little clip. Is that one, forgiveness is literally the highest form of healing you can possibly do. Forgiving the situation, the person, the circumstance, and forgiving yourself too, right? And that, and then self-love. And that is what I teach on a daily basis, is self-love and forgiveness and getting to higher vibration. you are now, I'm just so proud of the man that you are, because you're clean, you're living in your truth, you're living in your power, you're this amazing, incredible light from all of that darkness. So many people just stay in the darkness because they, it's a safer place for them, as opposed to facing the darkness, right? And so tell me, maybe give our viewers some tips on how you got through the darkness and the darkest times of your life to become so light, to become so clean and so healthy, and now taking that as your gift and giving it back to the world. Maybe tell our viewers how they can do some things on a daily basis to do that, because I know that your practice is all day, every day, right?
Yeah, I mean, I work at it. I've been called to start a ministry, which is basically branching off of my show, and it's a much different ministry because, believe me, the things that we talk about and are a little bit different. It ain't religion that I talk about, but it is a ministry nonetheless. I think forcing yourself to get present with yourself is a key, because I think that that's where you're told, hey, this isn't serving you. This makes you aware. And there was something, I want to back up in my life. I'm notorious at pushing people away. Notorious. In fact, I've been blamed or accused of it like it was a bad thing. I had an epiphany the other day, and I want to offer this to your audience, because I know that I'm not the only one that pushes people away. I swear to you that is something, you're pushing them away for a reason. Now, maybe you're not healthy enough where you're at, and I'm not saying that I am. I'm in this progression of becoming the man I'm called to be. But I had this epiphany because I had these friendships that I got so close to, and as I've committed to not dating. I'm not having sex. I'm not doing any of this stuff because I'm really focusing on working on me and healing the areas of my life that get to be healed. Because if not, I'm dangerously close to going back to the way I was. And the point and the evidence of that was this. I had two friendships that I got so close as a friend. And I'm like, look, I'm not dating. I don't have sex. I don't do any of this stuff. Even in the friendship, the boundary got crossed of, now this is like getting a little bit beyond friends. In other words, like they're sending me pictures that, are maybe kind of inappropriate. And then it's not about judgment. It's just for where I'm at, wanting to just be friends. It was crossing a boundary that exposed something to me that was very, very scary. And what it did was it showed me just how close I was to allowing not just the sexual stuff to come roaring its head back, but for me, one of the things that I'm working on is because the sexual trauma in my life and the physical trauma really warped my sense of what a healthy sex life looks like. It became very perverse. Again, battling my sexuality throughout the years. It was a problem, like to the point that I couldn't be attracted to a woman without wanting a threesome. That's not that normal. And, I could have the best intentions possible, but if I'm aroused and all of a sudden it's triggering all this other stuff, oh, this is a problem. And I'm so thankful that I'm in that place where I was able to recognize it before it went another step further, because had it gone to another step, I can't promise you that I wouldn't be using meth or cocaine again and doing these wild, crazy sex things. And that happened through a friendship. So for me, it's really just taking the time to be present and to be aware. And sometimes that's meditation. It's meditation for some people. For some, it's reading their Bible. It's writing, it's journaling, it's prayer. And for me, it's all the above. And it's all come into play to get me to slow down enough to be aware. Because I've always been aware, but what I wasn't real, I didn't like what I was aware of, so I would just party to get rid of it. But now that I've removed that, it's like, okay, wait a second, I don't like this. This isn't good for me. This doesn't serve me. And it's allowing me to remove it. So simply, it's just getting present. And then paying attention to the cues that you're getting from your spirit, from your body, from God, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, it lives inside you. and it's going to guide you, and it guides you a lot better when it's not stuffed down with a bunch of toxic relationships, abusive relationships, alcohol. They call alcohol spirits for a reason, by the way. Cocaine and meth and opiates, or just feeding my mind with poisonous things and anger and rage. Like, removing that stuff makes that guidance system that much stronger. So my tip is not to overcomplicate it. It's getting present and being aware. But to be honest, to even make it easier for you, live in truth. Because if you live in truth, everything else just takes care of itself. Like, if you're upset by something, it's okay to talk about it. If you want to, there's an appropriate way to give somebody feedback. But if your feelings are hurt, if you feel betrayed, whatever, like, it's okay to be honest. It's okay to be honest within those secrets that you're holding inside. I don't care if you're living what you think is your best life. The fact is this: if you're keeping secrets and you're not living in truth, you're slowly killing yourself and the people around you. And that tribe that you think you have ain't your tribe if you're not living in truth. And it's just a painful thing. There's something about the way the universe works. There's something about the way God works, universal laws, whatever you want to say. There's something about truth that sets it all off. And for me, it was that willingness to stand in truth that set up everything else. And part of standing in that truth was getting present.
That is so amazing. And I always say all the time, if you're not living authentically, then you're not living in your truth, right? And so many, and it's so easy nowadays with Instagram and, all of these things that you can just Photoshop everything, or you could make your life look so much better than it actually is, just instead of embracing what's really going on and learning the lesson that's in your life, right? To push you forward, to expand you to a higher place. And so let's talk about, you said so many amazing, amazing things about the gifts of living in your truth and living authentically. And so when I'm not living authentically, the universe shows me right away. Like, I mean, it really does, just like it is big. I think when you are living in an enlightened space, it's really hard because you can't hide, right? And so tell us a little bit about like your growth and how you've gotten to where you are from such a dark place. And because you are probably one of the most authentic people that I know, because you're just like, I'm laying it out on the table. This is me. And I don't care if you don't like it, then you don't like it. It's not easy in a relationships point of view, right? Let's talk about relationships being in mirrors, because they teach you lessons. And we know that, the relationship point is really such a hard place to go. So let's talk about relationships and coming from a place of darkness to the light and learning the lessons and being in relationships and having healthy relationships in your life.
Ooh. Well, I've had to remove them. I was in a very toxic relationship with somebody that I'd be lying if I said I love her. I don't want to be with her at all. I love myself enough to not want to be with her, but I do love her, and I'm grateful for that relationship, even all the pain and the mutual abuse that went on. I'm grateful for all of it because I've really been able to learn and heal from it now, and use it in a way that's been very powerful for people that have dealt with abuse or people that are being abused. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for her because she stood by me in a time when most people wouldn't have. That said, it all goes, again, going back to awareness with the relationship. Like, I know that right now I could get in another relationship. I could, but I also know that I don't have the tools needed to be able to not only take care of myself, but then also be there for someone else. And being able to be honest about that. And like, again, sex is off the table for me. I won't have sex until I'm married. As crazy as that sounds, I won't, because that's where things get complicated for me. And until I heal that, I don't want to put that in a relationship, because that means I'm probably a step or two away from going, okay, well, I'm in this relationship, we're having sex, now I'm bored, so I want to spice it up. So let's go get some drugs and let's get crazy. Like, I realize that I'm really close to that. Even though I've been on this journey and this walk and I don't want those things in my life, triggered the wrong way, you know, I know going into a relationship, I'm not where I want to be, so I'm not going to go in it, or I'm just going to start the cycle all over again. And I just think being aware of those things and what areas, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it doesn't matter if it's your workout routine, if it's your work life, if it's your relationships, if your sex life, it all kind of mirrors each other. And in the areas of your life that are maybe you're hurting or you're struggling, there's something you need to get rid of, there's anger or resentments built up, whatever it is. You carry that stuff into a relationship, you got some codependency issues. If you're barely hanging on by a string, hanging out by yourself, and then you go get in a relationship, guess how that's going to show up for you? Not very good. Not very good. And I'm 39 years old. I'm tired of having unhealthy relationships. And the way that I'm able to monitor where I'm at as a man is seeing who's coming to me in my life. Like, what level are they at? And they always talk about the people you hang around with, like the 6 people you hang around with or the 5, and you want them being smarter than you. Whatever that it's saying is, like, it's kind of stuck in my head a little bit, and I'm very fortunate to have some very powerful friends. That said, I'm aware of the people that are coming to where I'm at because I'm able to see where they're at. And that is a good sign of, okay, I know I'm not ready yet, but I'm getting closer. And that's encouraging, and that is reminding me to keep doing the work. You know, now it's been several months, there's a couple, like going on 3 months almost, that I've been completely single, not dating. You know, had a little incident where I married somebody I didn't know, which was, I have no regrets for, because what it did was show me painfully so, and this is no disrespect to her. It is not about that, because I think she's an amazing person, but it was a painful mirror for me to look at, to go, oh man, that's how I'm showing up in a relationship. Okay, I don't want to do that again. And so there's areas for me, and I want to have a healthy relationship with sex. Like, I got to tell you something, you know, like, I can talk about, you know, people talk about porn, for instance. Like, porn always escalates. Like, you can't just watch the same thing. And any guy that's watching it knows, like, you're changing it up, you're mixing it up, you're progressing. Like, you go from the Sears catalog and the Silver Fox, and then you go to Victoria's Secret, then you go to Playboy, and then you're a hustler, and then you're in just the hardcore stuff. And then you're like, how vile can I get? Because you just need that stimulus. My brain is there times 50. How am I going to attract a woman that loves herself, has a good family, that's going to be a good mother? How am I going to do that if I'm bringing in this perverse, twisted view and mindset where, while we're making love, I'm having all of these crazy things go through my head and it's not about going through my head, because if it goes through my head, I'm making it happen. So I want to have a healthy relationship. I don't want to be a cheater anymore. I don't want to be a bad father. I get to be an amazing father. I get to be an amazing, loyal husband that has a healthy, adventurous, probably most likely really kinky relationship, but it's with my wife. And I'm not bringing other people in. Like, it's something that I know I get to heal. So my relationship advice is, if you're feeling broken when you're by yourself, don't get in a relationship. There's my advice. Like, get present, get still, quit distracting yourself, and get real with yourself and go, is this working for me? Odds are it's not. It's not. It's not, because I know I'm not alone. And here's another thing too. Those of you that are living in secret with if you've been molested, I don't care if you're a dude or not, you're a big macho guy, guess what? I'm a big macho guy too. And it didn't stop me from doing half the crap that I did, because I didn't heal those areas of my life. I've wrecked. It's not cool to wreck families. It's not cool to hurt people that love you. And when you're sneaking off and living your double life, and women do it too, I'm not saying women don't, because believe me, they do. I know half of them. Anyway, the fact is, like, the ripple effect of hurt that you're causing by not healing yourself is it goes on further than your brain can imagine, because it doesn't stop at the person. Like, say Noelle and I we're in a relationship, and I cheat on her, and I'm going on, and let's say I don't use a condom. Okay, and I've slept with someone I don't know. I go back, have sex with her. There's one possible consequence. Number, because you're not telling a secret. Like, honey, why are you wanting to use a condom now all of a sudden? What's going on? Okay, then there's that part. What about, oh, she finds out. Noelle found out that I cheated. Oh, now she's hurt. And then she finds out just how bad it really was. Now she's affected emotionally. Now Noelle's not showing up for her kids, and now her kids are upset, and her kids are going into relationships. Oh, and then what about the family? It goes on and on and on and on and on. Because odds are, if you've done the kind of damage that I've done to people, that ripple effect is permanently damaging unless if that person is willing to go do the work to get well. And the fact is, I can tell you that my two exes that I love to this day more than anything, an ex-wife and an ex-girlfriend, I can tell you that they are so damaged from the relationship that they were in with me that they are now doing things that are not only affecting their health, it's affecting how they're showing up for their family, for their children, and so on. It's not cool. And guess what? You can say it takes two to tango, but your part in it, my part in it, you're kind of to blame. Okay? And so now the way I live my life is not perfect, but the only way I can heal these things so I don't become that guy like Jimmy Swaggart that's preaching against hookers and drugs and stuff like that. I'm preaching about it and I'm talking about it, and then next thing you know, I'm all over the news because I got busted with an escort and 5 pounds of meth and sex toys and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, that happens. I don't want that to happen, so I get to heal it. But guess what? Odds are, it probably would happen if I wasn't doing the work, and it's going to happen to you too. And it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So don't go into the relationship and don't bring your baggage into relationships. Take the time to heal. It's okay to be alone. And I promise you, for me to be able to look myself in the mirror and go, I love you. Hell, even for me to be able to look in the mirror, I'm like, I probably should lose a few pounds, but at least I can look in the mirror. And I'm not some holier than thou guy. If you ever watch Gratitude Unfiltered, I'll talk about in the moment that I'm triggered. I'll talk about it because it's the only way I know how to keep myself and people I care about safe. I have a healthy fear of, but when I'm triggered, I talk about it. So anyway, the whole point is, I just don't want I want the cycle of hurt to stop, because it doesn't have to continue. But the longer that we run from ourselves and the longer we refuse to get present with ourselves to understand what in our life that we need to remove or we get to work on, nothing will change.
Josh, that was so amazing because I talk all the time about living consciously, and we have choices every day. We get to choose, right? And how many times you could have chose a different path all day, every day, right? And you get to choose the little things that you get to the destructive energy, the destructive people in your life, the destructive drugs, everything. You get a choice, but you get to live consciously from those choices, right? And I think that that's so beautiful because and it's so real because, from a guy's point of view, that's really like a big thing, what you just said, really. I mean, I don't think that most women would even, there's some women out there definitely that can connect to that, but even so, a guy's point of view from like getting into a relationship when you're just not ready for the healing or doing the work. Let's talk about, you said something.
Hold on. Wait, you brought up something. I want to say this really quick.
Go ahead.
Women, this is to you. And I'm going to talk to you as somebody that smells victims a mile away. I still do. Like I can smell. Like I know who's prey and who's not. I'll tell you who's prey. If you set a boundary for somebody and you let them cross it, you become prey. So when you set a boundary of like, I'm not going to sleep with him for 3 months. I'm going to wait 3 months before I have sex. If you set that boundary and you tell him and you wait through with the 3-month thing, I've never really understood. Like, does it take 3 months to get to know somebody? I don't even. Anyway, but if you set a boundary, or you set a boundary of like, I will not allow you to call me a bitch, or I'm going to set this boundary where you can't slap me on the ass, or you set any boundary at all, the minute you let me or this person you're with cross that boundary, they own you. When you set a boundary, keep it. That is how you will get a man's respect. Whatever that boundary looks like, keep it. Because if not, your cycle of bad relationships are just going to continue to. Now, it may not always be an extreme level of hurt, but the fact is this, your current relationships, I mean, if you have a healthy relationship, God bless you. Please tell me how you've done it. But if you have an unhealthy relationship, you get to ask yourself why. And I can tell you as a man, as somebody that hunted for victims, I mean, not literally, but I mean, like that was what it was like. It was like I could smell like, oh, I can get away with anything with this person. The minute you let somebody penetrate your boundaries, it's done. Now, mind you, if you have a wall up, that's a little bit different. I'm talking about a boundary you set the intention to keep. If you let a man penetrate that, he owns you.
Well, I think that's for men and women, right? Just honoring you as a person, right, Josh? I mean, I think
that's true. I think men are really bad about setting boundaries. I've been setting them and I realize how easy it is to slip. So like I'm preaching to the choir when I say this, but I don't want to penetrate your boundaries because I want to respect you. Because the only way you're going to have a relationship that you want with a man is if he respects you and holds you high. He can say he respects you all day long, but what are his actions showing you? Anyway, what was your question?
No, that was perfect, because I think that, just having, honoring yourself and enough self-love to take a step back and say, I'm loving me and I'm honoring me, and this, you're not getting here, but I love you, but I love me more, right? And it's okay to have that. You did say something a while ago that I want to go back to, and the emotional triggers. Let's talk about that, because that's a big thing. Many people don't know how to deal with how they act when they get triggered. And when you get emotionally triggered, that's part of what I teach. But talk about, from your point of view, like how to handle emotional triggers and what to do when you're in that state of, going from getting triggered to being present and being clean and being, in a place of being healthy and healing the emotional triggers to get to that point.
I'm laughing because I have a suitcase full of triggers right next to me. I mean, it's just, first one for me is isolation. So this was a huge thing for me because I'm in the hills and I'm in the guest house here, and I'm so blessed to get to live here. But where I'm at, I'm very secluded, so I can't walk anywhere. Like I don't have a car, so I don't drive. I Uber everywhere, but like Ubering sometimes is inconvenient in the hills. I mean, it could take 30 minutes for a car to get here. Anyway, but the first one that came up right as my now ex-wife, or I guess it doesn't count because it was annulled. But when she left, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be alone for like 2 weeks. Oh, wow. I could do anything and no one would know. That, believe it or not, is a trigger for me. I had to sit with myself and deal with that. And what I learned through that experience was I used the energy that was building up in me, this dark energy, to go, party and act out sexually and do all these things. I used that energy to create. Through creating, and also I talked about the triggers, like as they were happening, like I did a couple of shows and I talked about it and people were like, what are you doing? This is how I keep myself safe, but I know this is the way I'm learning to not only keep myself safe, but also retrain my triggers. And that was a big step in me learning to trust myself and then ultimately loving myself. And then when I discovered loving myself, when I would get triggered to act out, it could be This is a very inappropriate one, but I'm going to be honest with you. This is a very recent trigger. As I mentioned, like with women, I can't be attracted. Like I could be, if I get really attracted to somebody and there's like this connection and like a true love, like where I respect this person, I love them, I'm attracted to them, like I could see a future with them, even though I'm not dating, I can see this. So there's a safety feeling. Well, believe it or not, for me, that will trigger this other sexual perversion that I have about bringing other people into the bedroom. I don't know why. I would assume because the majority of my life, my first sexual experience was a threesome, and then it just kept happening. I don't know if that's what it is. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that was really scary for me. I mean, I'm sitting in as that happened, and then my surroundings, like all of a sudden, like these things were coming to me that became more sexual triggers. That was scary for me because like here I am minding my own business, focusing on prayer, listening to T.D. Jakes or another sermon, and I'm getting sexually triggered by something that is vile and the exact opposite of what I'm listening to. So what I've noticed about the triggers are, there's something about just taking a deep breath. This does not serve me. And then finding the wherewithal to kind of like separate myself from that situation, that thought, and go on to something else. It's been little things like that. It's really just been the pause to get present, to go, this isn't serving me, and go. And that can be really hard to do if you're somebody that's used to going 1,000 miles an hour and you're not aware. But that practice, going back to surrender, going back to getting present, that really helps retrain triggers, because you now know how to get still and get quiet because you do it when you first wake up in the morning. I've been doing it when I first wake up in the morning. And now when those real life triggers and those situations happen, I'm able to just take a second to remind myself to get present, that this doesn't serve me. This is the path that takes me off of my destiny. Now, it sounds like, like a pain in the butt to you. I'm not really sure what your audience is thinking, but the truth is that has been the best practice for me to retrain triggers. So now when the trigger happens, I can kind of just shoo it away, or just say, one of the things I love to do is say cancel, and then move on. So it's probably not the best answer, but that's what I've been doing, and it's what's working for me. But it all starts with, to me, your daily practice, like starting your practice of building your armor. And I think when you first wake up in the morning, like do not be on your phone, whether it's put on audio, listen to something that's feeding your mind with good, starting that process of getting present and starting that daily quiet time, that daily ritual helps in moments like that when you're retraining triggers.
I love that so much, is because you really, your brain really works on repetition. And so I love the idea that you just say, okay, I'm aware of what's going on. And you bringing awareness to the situation will actually, diminish whatever is going on. So I love that you said that. You just make it, you consciously aware of it. And then you say, it's not serving me anymore, because you're making a conscious choice to not live in that energy anymore. Right. And you have enough self-love and enough self-worth to see how destructive those were in the past, to not go there. Even though you're tempted, even though it's still present in your life, you're making a conscious choice not to be in that vibration, right?
And it doesn't mean that you're not, this is the lie, I think, that this is the problem with a lot of churches, is that they don't, and I'm not bashing the church by any means. Well, I'm not going to bash the church at all. That's not what I'm doing here, because my faith especially, but my faith isn't in the church, or it's not in religion. That said, the lie that's told, or at least the truth that's not spoken, is that those things that took you off your path before, those things that took you to dark places, you went to those dark places because you liked it. You liked it. It stimulated you. Guess what? It doesn't go away. The fact is, the same desires that you have, the love of donuts. Oh, this goes simple. We don't have to go sex. We won't do sex or drugs right now, okay? Let's go donuts. Sugar. Yeah. Like, it's, the love of sugar doesn't go away. You're like designed to love it. You're designed to enjoy pleasure. You're designed to enjoy euphoric moments. We all are. Adrenaline rushes, getting high, whatever, however you find your high, hiking, surfing, whatever, you are made to enjoy that. So if you got a high off of a sexual experience, or you felt pleasure from it, or if you enjoyed that donut or the sugar you ate, guess what? It doesn't go away. Your body doesn't go 100 years later, 50 years later, man, I really don't like sugar anymore. Bull crap. Bull crap. Of course you do. Of course. Of course I still want to have sex in the craziest way possible. Of course. Because I had so much fun when I did it. I did. But the problem was, I was having so much fun, I never thought to take care of myself. That's how I got HIV. And even though I'm undetectable and I'm healthier than I've ever been in my life, even though that, I still have those desires. Even though I had the most brutal of consequences from it, I still have those desires. Do they serve me? Nope. Do I want to do it? Sometimes. Because it felt good. It was a fun escape. Maybe I don't like the way I'm feeling in the moment. Like I'm sick right now and I don't feel well. I'm kind of grumpy, to be honest with you. And honestly, that's a good time for me to get triggered. It just is, because I don't feel good. My defenses aren't up. And so now I'm susceptible to the enemy putting little thoughts in my head. Guess what? They all sound really, really good. But I'm going to use this analogy. You're in the desert. There's no water. You see a sign for water, like on this side. And it says 1 mile. I'm going to screw this analogy up. The point is this. There's no, the road to greatness is not easy. There's a lot of, like, it's tough. To be enlightened, to get to your highest possible self. God, I wish I could remember that water analogy. It was so good when I saw the cartoon. Anyway, but it's not easy. There's a tough road. But what's available for you is huge. But there's something about when you take that easy road, you give in to the desire, because it's going to feel so good to eat that donut. It's going to feel so good to have that sex. It's going to feel so good to get high right now. You take that easy route to feel better. What's on the other side of it is not rewarding. It's not sustainable. It's soul crushing. It will kill you. It just will. One way or another, it's going to kill you. The tough road, the one that looks the scariest, the one that has fear, the one that's you're going to have to face giants and obstacles and evils that you maybe don't, or maybe that evil is looking at you in the mirror. Whatever. The scariest road, that's the one that has the biggest breakthrough. That's the one that has freedom. That's the one that has enlightenment. That's the one that has all those little visions that you had in your head as a kid, all those little daydreams that you have when you're dreaming about speaking on stages all over the world, those little visions that you have of serving around the world, those visions you have about having a TV show, those visions you have of being an author, a New York Times best-selling author, those visions that you have, those daydreams, those dreams are not to tease you. It's God showing you what's possible, but you get to go the hard road, because the hard road is what builds your armor. The hard road is what teaches you, because you owe it when you're learning these lessons and you overcome and you beat these giants. It is your job as a human, as a citizen of the world. It is your job. It is what you were created for, is that then you teach others how you overcame that giant. And in doing so, you get to go to another level. You get to level up. You get to go higher and higher and higher. I follow Jesus. That's who I follow. It's not about being religious. It's about showing you what's possible. We're all given gifts. We're all given these amazing, beautiful gifts that we get to use for other people. And it's the coolest feeling in the world when you get to tap into it just a little bit more, because you obeyed that thing inside you. But guess what? That road, that's the scary one. That's the one that you face fear. But I promise you, your blessing is on the other side of that. That giant you face, that giant you kick their ass, that giant, you become bigger than it after you do it. And then after that, you get to bless other people by telling them how you did it.
Wow, that's so powerful, Josh. Thank you so much for that, because I think that that's a perfect place for us to wrap things up, is that on the other side of the darkness is your blessing. You just have to face it, right? And so tell our viewers how they can get in touch with you and what's going on with you, and where they can contact you and everything, because he is super, I mean, guys, if you liked this hour with him, I promise you his show is 100 times better. So where can everybody get in touch with you?
You can check out thejoshuatberglan.com, and it's thejoshuatberglan.com because somebody else owns joshuatberglan.com, and it's it's TheJoshua, T as in Tom, B as in boy, ERGLAN.com, or just find me on Instagram or Facebook at Joshua T. Berglan, or Google the world's mayor. I'm there too. So,
he is the world's mayor. He really is. And he is such a gift to this world. And he has come through so much adversity to be this blessing and this light. So thank you, Josh, for being on the show.
Oh, I love you, Noelle. I appreciate you. And I'm so excited for you. Congratulations on your show. And I'm just so happy for you.
Thank you. I love you so much. And to our viewers, you are amazing. You are beautiful. You are light. Go give your gift to this world because it's waiting for you. We love you so much, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, guys.